I
have
like this combo.
Fiesta and Cartel. That's insane. Do you want to explain what the tricky part about this is? Why this is so good?
Well, you got the bonus income on Cartel, and the Fiesta player likes to leak, right? So they synergize very well, because Sergeant is gonna try to leak every wave on early game, while King Dance can just use the income to maybe a little bit overbuild, but also he can also push, or he can also starve. So let's see what they're gonna choose.
Yeah, first of all this, and second of all, those are both early game spells, right? So Cartel is a spell you want to get ahead in the early game, and with both being early game spells, Fiesta will make the early game very long. They will unleash their full potential. And look at King's roll. I mean, have you seen this roll? You have Bone Crusher Opener, you have Cat, you have Butcher Steed, you have Vargs on top. I think he just rolled away a unit I was unsure about if you should take it, but King's roll is looking insane.
On the early game, like he has everything you want to have, like on first 10 waves, right? So he can just snowball
for sure
really hard. I really like the roll from King Dance, and for late he has the Sovereign with Butcher and Villain, and he can also roll, right?
And looking at the opposite, we have Ashton going for a more late game dominant role with LUDs or later on Hades and APS. It's a quite scaling role. So he really does not expect such a heavy early game match in this one, I guess.
Can also snowball. He has a really similar role, like King Dance, kinda, and he has your favorite units like Work. It's LOD.
Yeah, but he's a lot worse in like the later early game, like after or like already including 5. He will struggle a bit more, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably because he will have to build Dispatcher in most cases to protect himself on 7 and 8. While we have King Duns, he's just naturally scaling with a Cat. He probably is going to add now. So he's going to have an answer naturally for almost any wave besides 6 maybe, where he's not looking too good unless he's spending a lot of gold.
Sergeant and King Dance did a good strategy here. They saved Mythium, and now they're sending DTs on wave 2, so it's not something you see often on ladder, I guess. So this also could catch them off guard, but they are prepared, I guess.
This could catch them off guard. I'm unsure actually if Cyajin is gonna leak. He has 3 stacks in a Cat and double red. I think this is overall holding, so it's not another +4 for him. But I at least see one off guard leak here from Seraphine, who's actually leaking quite a lot, and I'm unsure about Ashton as well, if he's leaking as well.
He's probably king, but that's not ideal. Already taking some king damage.
Yeah, and it's actually not too low. Like, I mean, Seraphine, he's leaking 2/3 of the whole wave. Obviously, the share of money you get from your leaks getting caught in the middle is still very high. He's gonna receive a lot of gold out of this, but this is already like more than 15% king damage, which is insane.
Now Seraphine is sending Brute, so maybe Brute is gonna work out. Let's see what this King Dance is doing here. But he has good options, right? Yeah,
he has very good options. He's just gonna stack up the Cat. I think he can go up to 5 stacks, exactly.
Is it gonna be enough though?
It does.
He's gonna receive Brute. Like, Brute is really good versus Crusher and Nikomata.
He's likely gonna leak the Brood. I think it mainly depends on the time the Brood's getting focused. As he focuses the Brood quite early in the round, he's very, very likely holding. If he's having the Brood focusing somewhere in the middle, he might leak, especially if the Cat is getting attacked by the Brood first, which happens.
We see probably a leak on Sajin already, but that's fine because he's playing Fiesta.
Exactly.
He wants to leak.
Oh yeah, I mean, King overall is doing quite well, right? He's gonna leak the Brood, he's gonna leak like 2 more creeps, which is an overall decent result, I think.
Still good trade from the last wave, right?
Yeah.
Because they are leaking a lot, it's Brute, so they're gonna drop some king damage.
On top of this, they don't have ups, right? They did save in wave 1, so they're not able to get the king ups that Seraphine and Ashton have. They even have the traditional heal up from Ashton wave 1. Ashton is always thinking he's gonna receive some king damage early, so he's always prepared to heal it back.
Yeah. He's always right though. Seraphine is incoming a lot.
He is. Maybe they saw, or they realized there's Fiesta quite early, and Seraphine now wants to somehow, send a bit more on King to then break him suddenly with a bigger send. We've seen this in past in-house leagues. I think at least I can remember, where Seraphine tried to scale very hard on a special player, and sometimes it worked out actually pretty well for them. Whoever Seraphine's teammate was back then, I think it was mainly SSP.
These on 7 workers, and if you look at the Mythium, some guys already get 18 Mythium, so I'm curious if they go for 5 or they go for like big send on some wave, because it can be really dangerous if one team just save and then go for something like Ogre on 7 or something. But we see income from Ashton and Seraphine, and Sajin is saving together with King Dance.
Yes, I just wanted to say that 6 or 7 is looking actually very good of a send against Ashton and Seraphine. And especially with Ashton now only going income, I think Sajin has a very high chance to hold here, or at least do overall decent. And then later on, they will just get clapped. I mean, King already could send a double brute here, Sajin 10 Mythium off still, but wave 7 maybe? It's gonna be a huge send, and we've all seen those games where a nice Ogre on wave 7 is just killing the King, and you lose from 100 to nothing, so maybe this is gonna happen.
It seems like Ashton crashed here though.
I think Ashton...
At least from chat.
Yeah, I'm curious what this is all about. If he already did crash, I did understand he will crash soon. Okay.
Interesting. And this is like a big leak. I'm not sure what is going on. And I also want to point out that King Dance pushed 8 worker after not getting sent or income sent on last wave, so
yeah. I mean, I just said that Sajin's likely gonna hold this, but this looks all but a hold, right? He's leaking quite hard, and on top of this, King leaking a brute, and brute in the early game leaked is always a rough thing against the King, right? The attack speed slow is quite crucial. The earlier the wave is, the later the game goes. The King can just one-shot those brutes, but in the early game, the King will definitely need like 4 hits to kill the brute. So it will deal massive damage on top of the attack speed slow.
This is like big King damage already. It's
this
9 for Scorpions with 1 brute.
They already lost 32%, and I'm sure they're gonna lose another like 30% against this, maybe even more. Like their next send has to hit, right?
Yeah, and even if it hits, like maybe Ashton with Seraphine can do long save and finish them. Like if you drop under like 30%, then you are in big danger, because the other team can just long save and kill you, especially when there's like PTA.
Yeah, and you just named it about it has to kill you. I think there might as well be the problem that the next send, on top of that this has to have impact, it's also gonna be the case that Ashton and Seraphine are gonna receive so much gold from those leagues that they might just overall be able to overvalue hard enough to just not have this bad effect on them, where they just get outclassed by a way bigger send they could imagine.
For wave 7 to send, Seraphine is looking very weak, but they also need to be careful to not die on wave 6 if they overpush, because Kingdom is gonna be really low on value on the next wave.
I mean, we will have Sayajin, who's likely gonna have another Graal. I think in the tab screen you don't see the Graal. He should be a Graal, but he should be able overall to get another one. You named it, wave 6, not the best for Sayajin and King, but I'm not sure if they will see their weakness and maybe even have to send just to make sure that they don't die. I don't know. I mean, wave 7 looks perfect for them, right? You just said it.
Yeah. The question is if they can do it.
Everybody's reconnecting. I'm curious if the game's just gonna continue normally. I've not seen this. Everybody disconnecting to make sure that Ashton will be able to connect in time, so you will have the pause for every team once. Sadly, we don't see the pause screen. Or do you see the pause screen in the middle?
No, I don't see it.
Okay. I think this is just for the teams playing. And here it is back.
Oh.
Anti-stack triggered. Oh
Are
no.
we back? Oh yeah, oh that's weird.
Okay, so players are gonna discuss if they're gonna keep playing or what's overall happening. But look at this. King Dance is now sending. Saiyajin going double brute as well.
Look at this send from bot. He wants some leaks as well.
He does want blood, that's for sure. I even think like the alpha mate is not the worst choice here, right?
It's really good choice, right? I mean, it's actually not that good because we see the imps, right?
Yeah,
so
but it's either alpha male or coiler anyways.
Yeah.
He doesn't have split, which is kinda messing a bit here, but I think this is at least one of the top 2 choices the bot could have done for Ashton.
Yeah, not having the split is... the Crusher is tanking a brute, so it's not that bad actually.
It's actually perfect. I mean, we have the Serpent sadly gonna get sniped, but overall we have Ashton holding at least half the wave, while Seraphine, dude, look at Seraphine. He's doing good. He killed 5 Roccos already. He's only league 1 Rocco and 2 brutes. So overall, this is massive win for Ashton and Seraphine. I mean,
they can just now save, right? 20%?
Yeah, they can save. I mean,
I think other thing also has to do it, right? Because King is going down.
Yeah. Okay, Seraphine is still unsure whether Ashton is reconnected or not. That's actually quite funny. I don't know if they're in voice or not. I know that Saiyajin and... Okay, I'm pretty sure
Oh no.
they're not, right? Ashton's probably not here yet. If there's a triple snake coming. At least I wouldn't know why there would be a triple snake against Saiyajin, unless they really think they can play for the Darth game.
Well, I'm not sure if Ashton is here, but the snails seems to be to me.
Whatever this is, it just added another fire archer. Is this
right,
really
so he's not here. No, he's not here. Okay, this is also Gra here, right? And he's overbuilt, so that's definitely not Ashton.
He didn't push and he's overbuilt, that's not Ashton.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it seems like the teams agreed on not making the restart. So we will continue in this game, and once again, we just said Ashton and Seraphine now have to save. They didn't do it, they incomed and kinged, and now Saiyajin and King Dance, they have all the pressure. They have the Mythium saved up, 150 each already, and Saiyajin, he's just keeping leaking. And this is so juicy because every time, this is not only a long way for them, but it's also +4 for Saiyajin. Obviously, he's gonna lose a bit more gold right at this time, but in the long term, it's gonna scale quite well for him, and especially this long wave while worker leading, it's just perfect for them.
Why is bot sending? All the time.
I have no clue, and I don't know why it's sending brutes.
Like the ping should work from Seraphine, no? To save Mythium. I don't understand this.
I can't say as well. I mean, we can now speculate on when the sends are gonna be against Ashton and Seraphine. We have, by the time sends gonna be, it's like 280 on 9 maybe? Maybe a bit more. I would already guess it's 9, right?
It's gonna be 9, I guess. Yeah. I mean, King Dance can send a really big...
Yeah, Seraphin's not gonna have too many tanks. He could go for the King Claw in the split. I don't know if this is in his interest. We see the 4
coming out.
Yeah, against Ashton. So maybe the bot is gonna go for the coiler and is sniping the 4-eye, which would at least help in terms of king damage, I think.
I think we're gonna see the last wave here.
I assume so as well. I mean, Seraphin's just not having enough gold for the King Claw. He's not selling a gargoyle for it.
I'm a bit sad because I think Ashton and Seraphin would win this game if Ashton didn't crash.
I think so as well. They had a really good chance to win this. But, I mean, it's not over yet, right? They could still potentially hold. I think the chances are very small to still win this game, especially with this 4-eye. It's likely going to reach the king, and a 4-eye in the early game, I don't know if you out there have experiences with this, but this is usually a huge chunk of damage.
Exactly. Seraphin is doing quite good though.
Yeah, he has his very nice split focus, but he's still not able to full clear. His Halo will fall, I fear, and yeah, with the Halo dropping, there's an Ogre gonna reach the king, there's this 4-eye gonna reach the king, and this is, yeah, right up GG for them. Okay.
Well, this is GG.
Yeah, it's rough that we had Ashton dropping the game. The teams decided to not go for the restart. So this is the result from game number 1. We have #1 winning match number 1. We have YOLO and King Dance, and his YOLO rules actually arcane heavy.
He is missing tank, right? So he needs to be lucky in reroll for a good tank.
I think his early game is quite nice, and he does have a lot of potential with the speeds especially, and the reds, but he has to hit something else.
Double YOLO.
They're trolling so hard, it's insane.
Maybe they feel just sad that they win the first game and they wanna give some challenge.
Yes. And you just said about King's role, he doesn't have a tank. I think the same could be applied to Cyajin.
But I think Cyajin role is a bit better.
It is... Well, actually, personally, I feel like King Dance's role is better for the early game. You have a very nice opener, you have the double atom. Likely, you do have the Steed on top, you have Rats. I think that's all very nice early game units. And you will rely on the role then afterward.
Like the Cyajin role as well. Like he has a Gate Guard with Mask, for example. That's really good. And then he has a Sandbadger for 7-8 and Buckler to get some tank value. And he also have the LOD for Magic, for example, so I think his role is decent. I see the weakness on 10, for example, but he can still roll something.
Ooh, damn! Look at this wave 1 snail. Cyajin is getting hit by the snail, gonna leak since he's playing 5 broker open a gate guard. And one thing that is now playing a little bit in hands for Seraphin and Ashton is that King Dance, he started low worker, he's still on 3 workers, now pushing worker number 4, and Treasure Hunted. And overall this is quite good for Seraphin and Ashton, because the longer the wave goes, which is now thanks to the Seraphin League, that is a default league, and the snail against Cyajin, the worse the red is going to be, right? The workers are just gonna produce, they both get out the snails within income time, while King is just not able to get this extra gold, since the red will, receive the Mythium after the wave has ended.
Seraphin is playing really with fire. I think if he got a snail on wave 1, I think he would be just out of the game right away. Because he has no good answer for wave 3, for example. So
even for wave 2. Like imagine he's getting the send, and then afterwards wave 2, nothing. Wave 3, nothing.
Yeah, I think he would be just completely out of the game if he gets snail on wave 1.
100% agreed. I think this is... Sometimes you have to take risks, right? Especially if you're behind. You cannot just play your default game. You have to take risks. You have to make those unpredictable plays to just snowball. And I think Seraphim is actually very dangerous in terms of that. I think back then, he was the first one to ever play Mudman Serpent with
And
a
6
hardened
workers.
6-worker Mudman Serpent with a hardened Mudman on 3. Nobody ever saw that build before, and suddenly he was able to punish his opponent in the early game quite hard, just with this new very risky playstyle, because as he's not getting the stand on wave 3, he's basically out of the game again, because he's gonna leak big on 4, he's likely gonna leak on the upcoming waves, but sometimes if you don't expect it, it just works perfectly well, especially if you didn't see it before.
Arjun is really playing with fire as well. But he's not getting sand.
Yeah.
Maybe he leaks no sand as well, right? Like he has so much tier 1s.
He's likely to do so. I mean, it was already on wave 2, it wasn't like such an easy hole, right? He only was adding the buckler and a poly, and now even shifting more, so he's really lucky not receiving a stand here. And on top of this, King is treasure hunting. So they both could have been punished quite hard here.
Seraphim is, he's getting wrecked here. He got the DT into split, and Seraphim was totally useless in this wave, but at least Kingdom is making it even.
Exactly. You said it before, he didn't really have anything for wave 3, especially after he built the Windhawk on wave 2. He was just having full natural armor up until then, and even this one Seraphim won't help him out.
I think it was also a mistake to build a Windhawk on 2, to be honest.
Yeah, same, but does he get the Devilfish already? I think he didn't quite get it. Like, obviously, if you can afford the Devilfish, he should for sure go for the Devilfish. But I think as he is not able to afford the Devilfish on wave 2, the Windhawk is probably the only chance he can go for a hold.
He's now doing double Windhawk. I kinda don't like it, but let's see how he's gonna manage to do it.
Yeah, I do agree 100%. Double Windhawk feels kind of weak in the early game. Windhawk overall, not the best unit, it's a nice opener. It's synergizing very well with Tempest, but apart from that, it's quite weak in the early game, especially due to its impact damage, which is probably like one of the worst early game damage types.
Yeah, nice league on Kingdoms. He's leaking second wave in a row.
That's
it's gonna hurt him a bit.
And he's behind in Worker, right? He just didn't treasure hunt, so he's behind in Worker, he didn't treasure hunt, so there's no extra mythium gain from another source. And we can already see that overall Ashton is leading by 2 Worker, which is massive.
And what I want to point out is that King already roll. He has some flying units, but he has no tank, right? So if this game goes longer, like after 13 or maybe after 15, let's say, he will be really weak, I think.
True. I think King is gonna go a lot for Tempest with Canopies. The Tempest and sorry, not Tempest and Canopies, I meant Pilgrims and Canopies. Obviously the Tempest is gonna scale with it as well. But the best part about Pilgrims with Canopies is that Canopies is the only unit that will use this first Pilgrim heal, which is gonna happen at the start of the wave, completely, right? Those are the only units that can take all the heal for themselves and gain the full amount of HP, but obviously they're just not scaling too well into the late game.
This big league from Sayajin.
Yeah,
he was really he's really playing risky this game, but now he's getting punished.
Yeah.
Like leaking dead hard to just incomes and DT and Snail, I think that's really rough for them, and especially Kingdom's already leaked 2 waves, so this nice lead for Ashton and Seraphim. And Ashton have a 120 Mythium with his workers.
Yeah.
So let's see where is the sand coming.
That's 100% true. We just named it in a pause, right? YOLO's just this high RNG spell. If you just don't get the perfect setup for whatever stage in the game, now it is the early game for Sayajin, for example, or King Duns, they're just not able to make the best out of it. And even though, yes, they're now saving because they know they won't be able to scale in this game, right? They both have a fairly early game heavy role. We have no single target damage for Cygen for wave 10, for example. Wave 12 is looking awful for them as well. So there's going to be multiple waves they're really weak on. And therefore they're going to try to go for the long save. And Ashton and Seraphine, they have the worker lead still. They can just income and king a bit. They do have overall better balanced roles, even though they're not the best roles for the entire game as well. They're not scaling too crazy. But overall it's just looking a lot better for them.
Yeah, Kingdoms played it safe, he didn't treasure anything. And look at this Mythium. Everybody, or not, like Sajin and Kingdoms have already 160 Mythium. And if we look at the Seraphine role, he has really bad setup for next 2 waves.
Yeah.
And Ashton also is not that good, so this might really hurt them.
When do you think it's going to be Descent? I mean, there's a quite high chance to go for 7, right? Seraphine's looking really awful there. He does have the Descent Bachelor. He didn't show yet. Oh yeah, it's going to be 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. I thought Cygen's not going to send, and they're going to split send now in the situation, which would be like the worst possible scenario for them.
He was betting for the Ogre, I think. He was like 2 Mythium off or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually true, because he then just very fast clicked the Snail Mimic. He likely just didn't get the Ogre. I think both are good units for them. And I'm now curious what's going to happen. Are they going to finish up with King Ups, Ashton's? Yeah, they do.
It's also funny that King didn't send a Mimic, because he also only saw the nature armor.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you kind of have to expect something arcane here, right?
Arcane or Bank.
Like, yeah, there's those 2 options, and you could either go for Brood, which is most of the times decent for both of them, while Broods are not that great against the Violet, because a majority of its damage is going to be AoE. So you have either the choice for Mimic, or you have the choice for Broods. And I think Mimic is a fair go here.
This shutdown is so weird to me.
Yeah, it is not only weird, it's like also hitting Ashton Seraphine so hard, because they already league good, right? They would still be now leading, I think, if they now make the right decisions and not just go full income and feed their opponents and allow them to long save once again. But on top, they just give away 50 gold of shutdown because they got saved on. This is so weird overall, because in the early game, you already have a very tough time to hold big sense, strong sense with a lot of early game power mercs named Ogre, Mimic, Ghost Knight, for example, in very early waves. And you already have a very low chance to hold those sense, and then on top giving away shutdown is like really awful.
To be honest, but I don't like this descent from Ashton and Seraphine. Their drop so low. I mean, they're still savior, but I'm not sure if it's gonna save them on 11 versus PTA. But what they could do is just force 10 cent, because Sajin and Kingdoms were really weak on that way. And then now they are just asking for big send on 11. And it's 22%, it's gonna be rough. But yeah, I have to say there is savior, so maybe they can still...
You're right, I'm not a big fan of it either. Especially now, Sajin and Kingdoms taking such a insane advantage in workers. We see it here, the 6 workers, they are leading now, and they didn't send, so we already have King 200 Mythium. And personally, I'm not even sure if it's gonna be 11 because of the Savior, because it might as well just be 10 in case they fear they're not gonna be able to finish on 11. I don't know, I mean, you have an 11, you have this PTA on top, right, which is gonna help out quite a bit, but it's all gonna be...
You need to get a siege ram. Oh no.
Yeah, but look at this. You have Ashton already showing his board, so he shows he's having at least some units that could potentially be good on wave 11. We have Seraphine 1.2k value, right, where Cygen is still under 900, so we see this insane difference in one team is overbuilding, trying to income and go for the late game, which is Seraphine and Ashton, We have King Duns and Saiyajin.
This push.
They try to, yeah, it has to be 10, right? Saiyajin pushing to 19 worker. This is an basically all-in play for them.
He's just pushing for something.
Oh, there's a Centaur, the probably worst mercenary overall at the moment.
Really? I'm sending it off then. Maybe
Yeah,
that's why I'm losing.
yeah, true. Like if you get a Centaur wave 3, it's usually quite strong, but afterwards it might be quite bad. Ooh, Seraphim is missing out on the damage.
Yeah, he's building Firelord. I think he's preparing for next wave, but he has no damage at all. Like this is so bad. No damage.
Yeah, especially the Serpent's gonna get sniped like this, with Firelord likely not tanking.
Them after income, so...
this is gonna be rough. Let's see what they can do. I mean, if Seraphim and Ashton are now surviving, it's very likely that they win, because Saiyajin just suicided. He is quite out of the game, but it doesn't look like they actually stand a chance here.
It's no chance. It's just too much.
Yeah.
Like 380 on 10. No chance.
Yeah. This is quite an obvious result. We have Seraphim and Ashton getting hardcore clapped here on wave 10, even though there's a Centaur. We had a Ram, 1.5k value on both of them, and they're still not even close to hold here.